Welcome to the February 22nd, 2022 City of Broussard Council meeting. Please silence your cell phones, and if anyone in our audience would like to make a comment on an item listed on our agenda, please fill out a blue card located in the back of the room and turn it into our city clerk. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 5 minutes. Please rise for the pledge. Councilman Gary, would you lead us in the prayer?
We, the members of the Broussard City Council, beg of thee, Almighty God, to enlighten our minds so that our work will be just and fair in all things. Give us the courage and strength to fulfill our duties according to the laws of the land, and fulfilling also thy holy will on earth and in heaven. Through Christ our Lord. Amen. Also, if you keep Miss Lee in your prayers, she passed away last week.
Item 2.1, acceptance of the minutes of the February 8th, 2022 meeting. Do we have a motion to accept?
I accept.
Second.
The minutes were supplied in the council's packet. Tina, do we have any public discussion?
No public comments.
Council discussion?
Question?
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4, District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yay.
at large. Motion carries.
Item 3.1, approval of the January 2022 financial report. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move.
Second.
Our presenter tonight is our CFO, Ms. Karen Fontenot, and the report was supplied in the council's packet. Welcome, Karen.
Good evening, everyone. January financials are in your packet. They were emailed to you last week. Just a couple of things I want to touch on briefly. Last week, we kind of spoke, 2 weeks ago, we spoke about the overages that we're seeing. I just kind of want to give everybody an update about where each of our departments are individually. Police is probably 2% ahead of where they should be, primarily because of fuel. Fire is 4%. Kind of along the same lines. I mean, it's not something we have a lot of wiggle room on, but it's still dollars out. Streets is up 4%, water is up 7%, and sewer is also up 4%. There are some areas we have some wiggle room, there are some areas we don't. We've kind of been discussing with our departments to conserve where they can, be more restrictive where you can, understanding that there's just some areas that we will not be able to cut back on. I think everyone is kind of on the same page on that. I'll touch on sales tax revenues. It's wonderful. They were up 18% from last year, 25% up from the year before. They're 29% ahead of budget, bringing us 16% ahead of budget on our sales tax revenues overall. So that's a positive end, but if anyone has any questions.
Tina, do we have any public comment?
No public comments.
Council discussion?
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yay.
at large.
Yay.
District 1,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, Karen. Item 4.1, authorizing the mayor to execute the contract with the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office for litter removal services effective March 1st, 2022 and ending February 28th, 2023. Do we have a motion to authorize?
I move. I second.
So in the council's packet, there's a copy of the contract from the sheriff's office. I believe we have some guests tonight to speak on behalf of the contract. Mr. Matt Stuller is here. Welcome, Mr. Stuller. To speak in support of the sheriff's contract and the council's approval, I believe. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here this evening. I come as a dual role, one as a longtime citizen of Broussard, and also being involved with Parish Proud. It's a parish beautification program that we've been working very hard on for the last 2 years. First, let me thank each and every one of you for all that you do in service to Broussard, and most especially the beautification and creating a great environment within our lovely community. As we all know, we have a serious problem with litter and dumping. And it's very important that as someone throws a trash bag or a can or a cigarette butt out of their car or truck, it allows others permission to do the same. So it's very important that we keep as clean a city as we possibly can. It needs regular, routine maintenance of picking up litter to help avoid others wanting to follow along and throw trash. We also, have an habitual type of litterer. And the habitual is not going to stop by education or being kind or being nice to them. So I urge you, as well as all of the residents within Broussard, to have a new tool at your disposal of being able to dial 311. If it's during business hours, you dial 3, or there is a recording after hours to report somebody that you witness seeing litter. In other words, it is a reporting for reporting litterers. They will send a letter to the license plate holder of that car, and soon they'll be able to either prosecute if you're willing to testify and be able to write a citation. And as of last Tuesday, LCG and the unincorporated areas have increased substantial fines, community service, and even, believe it or not, after the third time being caught and cited, of literally incarceration for a period of time. This hopefully will able to stop that habitual litterer. It's very important as we live in this lovely city to have it clean. And the sheriff's detail is a great tool and resource, and limited. The sheriff has told me, as well as a number of you in speaking to you, that he only has one other detail in the parish, and Broussard is the second. So I really fully support and ask a united vote that we need to control litter here in our lovely community. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stellar, and thank you for the work you're doing in our parish to help bring about the change that we need to have a more beautiful parish, which I think encourages, it has a lot of economic value and importance to us, as well as just city pride and parish pride. So we appreciate that. We're proud to be a member of Broussard Pride, which is an extension of Broussard Proud, an extension of Parish Proud. I can speak from the city side of it. I know our public works crews, our director Mel is here tonight, are strained with the efforts of keeping the city clean, especially during the summer months, where their time can be better spent actually operating machines, cutting grass, keeping our city looking its best in that capacity. So the contract and the sheriff's crews will be a big help to our public works crews. Mel, if you want to comment on that, please do.
Absolutely. It would free up some of our guys that cut grass normally. In the winter months, they do pick up a lot of trash, but there's also a lot of grass to cut in the summer months. So this would help as well, as well as picking up trash. They can also help out with the grass cutting. We'd appreciate if y'all would move forward to getting that done.
Thank you, Mel. Tina, is there any other public comment?
No other comments.
Oh, open for council discussion?
Mayor, I think I heard yesterday that on a statewide level, our lieutenant governors ordered a war on litter. Matt, you may have heard this. I mean, I don't know if Parish Proud has leaked over to Baton Rouge, but they're going to do a statewide effort to clean up the state. It's bad all over. And I think the lieutenant governor, along with the blessing of the governor, have identified that as a concern. And he came out publicly this week that he wants to address it. Yeah. Yeah.
as we do, which is an affiliation to Keep America. So we're very excited. They have a letter task force in place. They will be coming out early summer with an entire campaign. We're very, very excited to be involved with them and the opportunity not only to help our immediate area.
Question.
District three,
Yes.
District four,
Yes.
District five,
Yes.
District six,
Yay.
at large, District one,
Yes.
District two,
Yes.
motion carries.
Item 4.2, Ms. Sharon Norbert, condemnation of property located at 200 St. De Porus. Do we have a motion to condemn?
Second.
So I believe Ms. Norbert is here tonight, as well as our building inspector, Mr. Rodney Richard. The council had asked you to inspect the property at the last meeting. Mr. Richard, would you be able to give us a report on that inspection and, you know, where we are currently?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I want to explain to the council why I come upon my decision to recommend it to be condemned and demolished. Do we have the pictures to show the council? And as you kind of roll into pictures through the pictures, you can see the condition of the building, not only the exterior of it, but the interior of it. And the reasoning behind my recommendation is the following. All the roofing material, rafter framing, such as a rafter, ceiling joists, they way overspanned, they rotten. So the inside of the building, as you can see from the outside, is literally caving in due to moisture and due to the way the building was originally framed. Honestly, you got ceiling joists with 2x4s, way overspanned. The second thing is several of the walls will need to be replaced because they are rotten. You can see some of the pictures of the inside walls because the ceiling was leaking so bad, the studs are rotting. So majority of that would have to be removed. The wiring of the building would have to be pretty much completely rewired. You're not going to save anything in there. The plumbing fixtures would need to be replaced. And then it's going to get into when you try to repair the building because you're exceeding the 50% value of the building. The state regulations mandate that the building be brought up to today's code. So that really throws a different picture on it at that point in time. The AC unit, the ductwork, all that will either need major repair or replace completely, the air conditioning system. The grease trap on the outside of the building completely gone. That would have to be completely replaced. And depending on whether she's going to be doing cooking or it's just a bar, that will decide on the size of grease trap that would be required if she decided to rebuild. Now, we allowed her contractor, he spoke to me about starting to tear the building down, and they would like permission to tear it down to the cinder blocks. Now, and then at that point, they would come in with a set of plans to meet today's code to rebuild the building basically to today's code. And I didn't mention yet, but even the inside of the building has step ups and step downs, which anybody know anything about bars, that's a very safety hazard inside of a bar. So that floor would have to be leveled out also. So I guess Ms. Norbert is here to listen to my report as well as her recommendations on what she may want to do with the building if she wants to rebuild it. But my opinion, my experience is going to be very, very expensive to try to rebuild this building and make it comply with today's codes. So that boils down to why I'm recommending it to be condemned and demolished.
Is it your recommendation to leave the cinder blocks as they asked for?
Well, I agree to let them leave the cinder blocks until they can come back with some plans and specifications and kind of prove my point that it's not going to be feasible to rebuild it. Cause they act, and the cinder blocks that's there now is probably the only portion of the building that's worth saving.
That's weight bearing too, though, right?
Yes, sir. They are weight bearing, but they're not cracked. Anything about them are
Yeah,
cracked.
they look like in decent shape.
Yeah, they are. But that's, like I said, that's the only part of the building that's in decent condition is the blocks, which has probably been there for who knows how many years. But, they are structurally sound, but the roof, walls, everything else is gone around the building. So
How long are we looking at to get a set of plans?
I
Or
spoke,
whatever?
I spoke to and Ms. Norbert can shed more. I spoke to the contractor. And look, Ms. Norbert, you may shed a little more light on this, but he told me they expected at least $250,000. So again, that's a lot of money, but
Yes, it is.
you tell me.
Well, thank you all for hearing me.
Yes, ma'am.
We in the process of demolishing the inside of the building. We taking off the walls, the interior, putting it where the center blocks are shown, because I realize I have to bring the wiring up to code. I have to bring the plumbing up to code. I remove all the toilets, that one for the men. I had somebody remove that. I did a lot of the wood, removing that out. The draftman stated that I have to clear it out in order for him to draw the lines on how the structure should look within the building. The draftman would draw the lines, bring it up to code, and then the contractor is responsible to do exactly what the draftman draws up. Now, in my mental status, I don't see me demolishing the building because it's cinder blocks. And Big A Store added to his business using cinder blocks. And we all know that cinder blocks, bricks last forever. Mr. Rodney is aware that I want it to be a shell, and I want to put everything new inside. And because my husband and I were called for that, and my son has passed for COVID, it has sentimental values to me. Broussard has been good to my family. I want to do something for the town of Broussard. I want to use it as a COVID site because I worked 30 years at UMC and at MIDI. I want to test out for not the customer, for the neighborhood to be tested for diabetes, for hypertension, for cholesterol. And then I want Our Lady of Lourdes to bring a bus over there where they can donate blood for people. That's my plan for that building. I know I need some money, and I got some money, and I have some investors. And that's all I can say. But as right now, that's where my mind is at, to bring the building up to code. As the draftsman said, I have to clean it out. He cannot draw a plan without that inside being cleaned out. And that's where we at. I got Troy LeBlanc. He is Dr. Demolition. He was originally a chiropractor. He is not doing demolition work. He's gonna deliver the dumpster. What else? And he walked through and he explained it's a two process. Once we clean out everything, the walls and everything, he has a big machine. We're gonna take a few metal pieces off. You're gonna break that roof in with the ceiling and come down, and then we're gonna put everything in the dumpster. And that's mine.
Ms. Norbert, it's obvious that you want to do everything you can to salvage the building and have it rebuilt. Mr. Cooney and the city has sort of laid out the plan, if that is your wish, on how to make that happen and be compliant with city regulations.
Okay.
You're following that plan now. It's up to the council to sort of extend time, Gerald, if I'm correct, to allow you some time to work with your contractor. It's your money, and if you want to, if this is what you wish, that's there is a path to do that.
Okay.
We're just going through the correct process, and you and I've talked a couple of times at City Hall, and, I think we're kind of making sure that we all understand each other. And if you so choose to spend that money, there's definitely a path for you to do that. The one caution I would give you is that the building was closed for so long, the grandfathering of the parking is no longer usable. So whatever purpose that you're putting to it, just make sure that you check on the parking regulations with the city and that it would be compliant at that point. But as far as a bar or restaurant, it couldn't be that again because there's not enough parking. So, but
Absolutely.
our planning department can help answer those questions for you for your intended use.
Thank you so much.
So, Gerald, how would you advise the council at this point?
I think that the council may want to move forward on the motion to condemn, but then, because if the building is brought down to the cinder blocks as is represented, that would satisfy, I think, the needs of the council and for condemnation. So if we move forward and then with an idea that in some period of time, whether it's 2 weeks or 30 days or whatever it is, we'll come back and see the status. But if the property owner, Ms. Norbert or her people, don't move forward with the demolition as represented, then the council could move forward at that time. So based on the representation that will be done, I think we should allow the Ms. Norbert an opportunity to complete the demolition.
So we're kind of in two phases. We have the demolition part and the new construction. So we give her a timetable for the demolition initially, right?
That's correct. That's
So,
correct.
and then the phase of construction, that's on her, how she sees fit.
The
to do
second
that.
target is really to have a set of plans for Cooney to
Right.
approve.
Yes, that's what I wanted to bring up did your, draftsman architect give you a time limit when he would have the plans designed for submittal?
He went and looked at the building, and because it was so much garbage and debris up in there, he told me demolish the inside and then he'll go back and draw the lines in the plans.
I guess what I'm trying to throw out here is try to put a time limit on the draftsman, whether it's 60 days, 90 days or something, so we can keep the, foot on the pedal in a sense to give deadlines for the draftsman for a bid purpose, so Ms.
Sure.
Norbert will know what it's costing her. And
Just for a reference, it's been 45 days since we last took this up. We did not take it up at the 30-day mark because we pushed it to give Ms. Norbert a little more time, and you were not available for that meeting. So if that gives the council a reference, I would encourage a council recommendation on the amount of time they'd be comfortable with giving Ms. Norbert some time to do the complete demolition and supply new plans.
Okay, with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you
Thank
much.
you. You're welcome.
Call yours.
Yeah, I'll make a recommendation. I recommend six.
Ms. Norbert, 60 days will be long enough for the demolition? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And then I,
Then after I finish the demolition, 60 days, contact the draftsman, let him draw up the line and bring the building up to code with electrical, with the roof and all that, and bring the contract to you all or to the mayor.
Yes, ma'am. He would only need to submit the drawing to Mr. Richard, and then, so the recommendation, if I'm understanding correctly, is 90 days. 60 days for demolition, an additional 30 to have a plan submittal to the city and to Mr. Richard. And so we would move the next item on the council agenda 90 days from today, and we can continue to keep up with the project between now and then and advise the council if necessary in that meantime. Is that clear enough, Gerald?
I think that's the case. From the city standpoint, the demolition is what you're looking for, to see that done. After that, it's just a regular process of any building. They'll have to put plans together, go to your to the department and get, property department, get the proper permits. But the demolition is in 60 days, that's the important thing to get done.
I move as said.
Our second.
Do we? Question?
Just point of information, so you're voting on the condemnation, to approve the condemnation with that caveat that she has 60 days to handle the demolition on her own. And if she fails to do so, then the city can step in and do it.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yay.
at large,
Yay.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
motion carries.
Item 4.3, Councilman David Bonet, discussion on creating an Old Town Special Overlay District. Councilman?
Our small city is turned into a large city. It's growing. It's not gonna stop growing. In the process of growing, we've implemented restrictions on building, on just about everything. I was not for zoning when it first came out, but I see it's a necessity with the growth that we have. And we've tweaked up all the ordinances for building in all of the new parts of town. But we need to look at the old part of town because it's unique. It's a different geographical area, topographical is different than the new parts of town where we're building. And we're gonna bring forth the ordinance in a few weeks, hopefully soon, that's gonna address a lot of issues, drainage, traffic, old infrastructure, the burden on it, quite a few other issues that we'll all be able to look at when the ordinance comes out. And I just wanted to bring this out to the open, let everybody know what we're aiming at. We need to protect what's in the old part of town and not just think about new builds in the old part of town. New builds in the new part of town aren't restricted by the small streets, the close proximity to buildings to the streets. The lot sizes, drainage. I mean, that's the number one thing for downtown is drainage. And, I just wanted to bring to y'all attention that we are gonna be bringing this ordinance to y'all. And, hope y'all can look through it. If y'all have any questions with me or Walter about it. And, we'll try to get this to where we can save what we have in the old part of town.
David, what geographical area are you looking at? I know it's your district, and what are all inclusive in that?
It includes some of my district.
On First, Second, Third, Fourth Street, that area, Leola?
The Jefferson, Clara.
Yeah, south of the railroad track is really the
Problematic area for
drainage, yeah. But on where Angel is, the lots are small. I mean, buildings would be restricted really. on
Yeah,
a
the
small
lots
lot,
there,
you know?
most of them are 25 by 150.
Yeah, and, Walter's putting a lot of language together. It's gonna probably have to be tweaked before we pass it. Not everybody's gonna like everything about it, but it needs to be looked at.
Well,
We can't just let it continue like it is, because, I know some structures. I own one structure, the mortar's washing out the brick, the water runs on against the wall so hard. And it's due to drainage needs to be fixed without slabbing and cementing lots to the 100% of what it is. We need a percentage that's gonna absorb water or do something, you know?
What,
As an example, Walter, I just wanted to kind of mention this, and you can give me the figures. So a lot of the ordinances, subdivision ordinance, et cetera, that we have in Broussard, fits perfectly for a new neighborhood or a house being built in an existing neighborhood. But setback requirements are, can you tell the council what those are currently?
Current setback for residential is 20 in the front, 5 on the side, 5 in the rear. That's a current residential setback.
So that being said, that really doesn't apply very well in the older part of town where the lots are so small, where somebody might own 2 or 3 lots. You got a 50-foot by 100-foot lot, and you're building 5 foot from the property line. The lots are so small that, and in the current market, the city is getting what they want. We are getting new developments in the old part of town, which we have not seen in decades. And it's due to the council funding and working through a plan to kind of uplift the historic part of Broussard, the Main Street redevelopment. But with that, some of what has come up is it's a hot market right now. There's money to be made, and the city is seeing some developments being looked at that maybe aren't as fitting for the old historic part of town as they would be in an undeveloped part of Broussard or in areas which are developing rapidly. So, you know, when David brought this idea up, we met, Angel was in the meeting and talked about what are the problems you're seeing in your district, old infrastructure. You know, some of the infrastructure in downtown Broussard across from the church or behind, you know, in that area is 60 years old. And Mel, our city engineer, our public works department fights drainage improvements in that area because we just do not have the outfall capacity as we might in where we can put a new neighborhood. So those things are all concerning. I don't think there's anything radical in what was talked about in that meeting, but we're putting some language on it for the council to take it up as an item, to try to satisfy some of the concerns that have been brought to the city by our council people.
Yeah, and there absolutely isn't anything radical, because what we did is we took the Main Street overlay district that y'all voted on, and we adapted it slightly for the old town. So we're not doing anything terribly different. One of the concerns that we have in the older portion of Broussard is, if we have multifamily developments, our current parking requirements are 2 per unit. We're bumping that up a little bit because there's no place. In a typical residential subdivision, you have 2 people in the garage, 2 people out on the carport, and then you have plenty of room. We have wide streets to park on the street. You can't do that in Old Broussard. So we're upping from 2 to 4. Those types of things, because it needs special attention, because it's not, as the mayor said, a standard residential modern. I mean, a lot of this stuff was built in the horse and buggy days. So we're trying to accommodate and encourage certain things and discourage other things.
And all at the same time, welcome new development in the historic part of Broussard. We want it. We want, you know, we want these new developments to help uplift this area, but the rules that we have, the blanket rules, don't fit as well as we'd like them to in this area. Ms. Cooney, you had a comment?
Because it's not widely known, but there is something, thanks to New Orleans, that was amended with the building codes. When you're building on these old, small lots, these setbacks that was mentioned as new construction doesn't apply. The setbacks is as little as 3 feet off the property line, believe it or not. And you can have as much as a 2-foot overhang. So that only leaves the overhang in. But the exception in the building code book, it does not have to be fire rated. So it gives you a lot of leeway. Plus, you got 2 different code books. One is for existing buildings that's not widely used, and of course, you got the other code book dealing with strictly historic buildings. That gives you a lot of leeway that we spoke about a little bit on the old house that y'all inherited.
Well, one of the things, the ideas in the new overlay ordinance is, if you're doing something with an existing structure and you're not making it bigger, then you're exempt from the requirements. If you have an old structure that you need to tear down and you want to rebuild, but you keep the same footprint, it doesn't apply. It's when you try and start pushing the limits is these other things start kicking in. So we tried to make it where it's user-friendly, particularly for single-family residential. What'll end up happening is, if Main Street's successful in drawing all this, I think you're gonna start seeing a lot of little businesses and all kinds of things happening, and we need to make everything work harmoniously. And that's the purpose of our planning regulations and zoning regulations. The primary purpose of zoning is that you don't want a machine shop next to a residential subdivision. You want to create space between those type of uses. This is taking that to a little bit higher level.
One of the things we just cannot improve is the size of the roads. A lot of the roads in the old part of Broussard are undersized to today's standards, and they will be that way. We just cannot, there's no way to change that. So we have to kind of take that into account as we think about parking and you know, new structures, new development in the area. So, Mr. Councilman Bone asked for a discussion on it. I'm sorry to take some of your time, Councilman, but
The way we're doing it is, and this is kind of the approach I personally prefer, is not putting a number on it, but what we're saying is that one of the things for drainage, for example, we're saying that some of the area is old, the infrastructure is old. You may have to do more work than you would on a new development with drainage, for example. If you're changing the nature of that lot, then you might have to, if you're gonna, let's say you're gonna put some kind of multifamily unit where a house used to be, you may have some buffer requirements between that and residential. You gotta provide for parking because you're gonna have more parking needs for that type of use. So rather than saying, oh, you can't build over X square feet, we're saying you can do whatever you want, but here's some other requirements that get tacked on to what it is you want to do. And remember, this only applies to a limited area. Mr. Michael's district, David, and Angel's district. And would, in my, and not necessarily, but you're talking about where the oldest part of town.
there will be a map.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to develop a map, and y'all are gonna have to tell me what is included. But it's for a limited area, and I kind of lost my thought. But it's for a limited area. It doesn't apply to everywhere in Broussard, and it's pretty much the same thing as the Main Street overlay. Yeah. We are, but we are, but not directly. We're doing it in other ways. And again, remember what I just said. This type of development in this type of area is what we call infill, where it's already developed around you and you're filling in the little pieces. So if you have a house and you tear it down or it gets condemned and now you have a vacant piece of property, if you replace it with something that's about the same size, you're fine. It's where you start changing the nature of what was there before, then these things start kicking in. And because we don't have the opportunity, particularly with multifamily or commercial, which can be done in all of these districts. We have a lot of it's neighborhood commercial, so you can have multifamily, and where are you going to park these people? This is something the city's been thinking about since Ray took office, about where we have opportunities to create parking. Because if Main Street's successful, you bring all these people here, you got to park them. Same thing, if you start filling up the old part of town with a bunch of multifamily and commercial use, where are you going to park these people? So what we're telling them is, you have to deal with that depending on what you want to do. So that starts affecting how the space that they have to put a building. They have to provide more parking. They may have to do more drainage. All these other things start working on what they're able to do with that little bitty lot. You understand? You follow what I'm saying? Yeah, and we already set it up, and I think we did a pretty good for example, with Main Street, and Actually, the Main Street overlay, we're just now starting to get into that. But what would happen on Main Street, if you want to do something on Main Street, you may have to go through planning, but then you also, once you get your architectural plans and all that, you submit that for review, and it goes to the planning commission. And to make sure we're following those guidelines. So we're following the same exact model that we developed for Main Street. And I guarantee you, as time goes on, we're gonna have to change it. All of them, you know, nobody's that smart where you're gonna solve it all.
Councilman, good. There's no action to be taken tonight. It was just a discussion, so thank you. Resolutions. Item 5.1, resolution number 698-22, a resolution declaring certain items listed on Exhibit A and currently in the possession of the city of Broussard as salvage and no longer useful to the city of Broussard, and authorizing the disposition of said items by the administration of the city of Broussard. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Chief, most of these items are your items. The Public Works has a couple on there. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, they just, we're gonna just salvage the vehicles and give it back to the city for auction, if I'm corrected. We have like 7 vehicles right now. We're waiting to get them outfitted. Same problem everybody else is having, supply chain. We're waiting. Hopefully 3 of them will get out this week. We talked to the vendor this morning. So hopefully we'll get 3 of them out. Won't be on the road till probably the week after, once it gets striped, but this is just to replace this replacement vehicles that we salvaged. Yeah.
Same with us. We have, the tractor that's up here is our oldest tractor. It's been replaced already. It needs a bunch of work. It needs a clutch. It needs about $10,000 is what they told us just to get into it. So it's really not worth fixing. It's a 2008. It's got almost 6,000 hours on it. We've replaced it already, and we're just putting it up for salvage. The 2 copy machines are from City Hall, and they've been replaced already as well.
Tina, is there any public comment?
No public comments.
Council discussion?
Question.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yay.
at large.
Yay.
District 1. Yes. District 2.
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 5.2, resolution number 699-22, a resolution adopting the St. Martin Parish Mitigation Plan. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Second.
So I think Mel or Ben, I'm not sure if Ben is here, but, Ben is here, can comment on the, mitigation plan. It was supplied to us by the parish of St. Martin. They ask us every year to adopt part of their plan. Mel, please elaborate.
Absolutely, yeah. We had a few changes to make on it, nothing drastic. We made those changes, we submitted it to them, and we just need a resolution to move forward with it.
A lot of the plan is contact information to make sure they have the right contacts in the case of an emergency, you know, about our processes, but it's really their parish plan that we are a small part of. But this helps them to finalize what they need, and it is at their request that it is on the agenda tonight. Tina, do we have?
Correct.
Thank you, Mel. Do we
No
have public comment?
No public comment.
Council discussion?
Question.
District 5.
Yes.
Sorry, District 6,
Yay.
at large.
Yay.
District 1.
Yes.
District 2.
Yes.
District 3.
Yes.
District 4.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 6.1, ordinance number 22-722, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance to add maps E-11, changing the zoning of 425 Hard to Farm Road from single-family residential to multifamily residential. Do we have a motion to adopt?
I move.
A second.
This item is up for adoption. It was taken up at our last council meeting. Tina, do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
Council discussion?
Question.
At large.
Yay.
District 1. Yes. District 2.
Yes.
District 3.
Abstain.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6.
Yay.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for our meeting tonight. Please drive safely. Meeting adjourned.